Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to say welcome from the Together SC team here. We are excited to welcome Kim this morning to speak with you all. And without further ado, I will pass it over to Kim.
All right, thank you. And thanks to y'all that are off camera. I know not everybody is likely in a place where they can be, but if you can be, I'd love to see your faces. Um, so thank you. Good morning. Happy first week of school to all who celebrate. Hope if that's you, your family's off to a good start and had a good summer. Let me share my screen here. Just hopefully the biggest test I'll go through today. I also really don't mind, again, this is totally up to your preference, but if folks are in a relatively quiet place, I really don't mind people being off mute. It's kind of makes it feel a little bit like I'm not presenting in a closet and I can hear the human sounds of interaction. So it's okay if you sneeze or cough or laugh or whatever, especially if you laugh. All right. Good to be here, y'all. As Desmond said, my name's Kim Andrews. I'm a leadership coach here in Columbia, and I'm so pleased to be here with you all. I often, when attending a session, I'm like curious, like who is this person presenting? Where do they come from? What's their story? So I won't spend too long here, but thought I would share just a word or two on how I come to this work by way of a couple of pictures. Is my screen showing okay? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Thank you. I started my career as a teacher. I was a sixth grade teacher in a tiny border town in rural South Texas. That's me top left with my students. Uh, and after that, went on to spend about 15 years in a variety of roles in public education. So I worked in large school districts, around and in support of school districts all over the country, and also in education nonprofits here in the US and a stint in the UK. And all that work was really focused on how school districts and the organizations that support them can do a better job developing teachers. A lot of teacher professional development is not good, to put it lightly. And so we were really focused on how do we really create great learning environments for teachers, and how do we develop teachers as leaders in their own right so that they can lead teams, lead learning for their peers. And so that work brought me to work with school districts and senior leaders and administrators. That's me top right, very pregnant, probably facilitating to a group of those folks. Um, and I would have to admit, I think I spent the first couple of chapters of that work thinking if we just build the best plan, like the best teacher development plan and strategy, and help districts implement it, then the results are going to come. Teacher effectiveness, student achievement, it's all going to come. And I see some maybe knowing smiles because as I learned, and I'm sure all of you know through hard-earned experience, the most clinically perfect plan falls right on its face without strong teams and strong leaders to make it real, to bring it into reality. So I've spent kind of the last decade or so, both within nonprofits and then in my own coaching practice, helping leaders with that part, the messy human part. How do you help a group of people work well together? How do you help a group of people communicate in ways that are healthy and productive and kind of make their way through conflict in ways that help and make progress and not cause harm? And then how do you build trust in a team so that you can turn sort of a group of super talented individual players into a cohesive unit that's really capable and up to the challenge of delivering on the incredibly important missions that y'all have and y'all advance. Um, so I do that work a number of places kind of outside of South Carolina, but I am unapologetically partial to the work I do here. Um, in my home state. That's just for good measure, a group of my, or a picture of my family in the center there. I've got three kiddos at Brockman Elementary. Um, and my husband, Brooke. I am from Pennsylvania originally, but a South Carolinian by marriage. So we've been here in Columbia raising our family for almost the last decade. Um, and I love the work here. I love getting to know organizations across the state and being even kind of a tiny part in helping y'all do the super, super important work y'all do in support of communities. So thank you. I'd love to share you to just share in the chat a word or a phrase about your leadership team. And I know y'all are different sizes, um, probably different sizes of teams. So define leadership team however you will. And just drop in the chat a word or a phrase that describes how your team, your leadership team is now, today. Thank you. As a word of warning, I am going to ask for ongoing kind of engagement if you would so indulge me, if you're not in the car or otherwise kind of multitasking. I love, there'll be lots of opportunities to participate in different ways. So thank you in advance. And anyone else who's brave to come off camera would love to see more faces. Resilient, aligned, on target. Awesome. Oh, let's see, move this over here. Okay. Here's the plan. I'm gonna spend, with your help, just a little bit of time providing an overview of a very quick leadership team health assessment that I created that many of you completed. It was really fun and fascinating to see the results come in. If you haven't done it, completely fine. All of this, I've designed this in a way that whether you've done it or not, it'll be accessible and you can do it afterwards. So we'll do a really, kind of fly by the seat of our pants, quick overview of 5 drivers of team health. Then we're going to spend a good chunk of time in breakout groups. And then at the end, hopefully do a little bit of sharing out of insights and kind of cross-pollinate some of the ideas that came up. Here's my hope for today. I hope y'all leave feeling even a little bit more focused, hopeful, and connected. This year has been a lot. I know it has. I know I don't need to tell y'all twice, especially for folks in your seats. So I want to just name that and hold a little space for it. And I hope that this brief session is a chance to clear through a little bit of that clutter and complexity and just pick one area as you think about the strength of your leadership team. If by the end of today you pick just one area you're going to focus on improving, reminded in the power of like very small, even microscopic steps in the right direction. So I hope you leave with something to try. Maybe it's something I share. Even better if it's something you hear from a peer. And that kind of brings me to connected. I'm going to share some ideas from kind of my experience and what I hear in organizations across the state, but there is tremendous wisdom in y'all and in this group. And so I really invite you to, sure, take a look at the tools I share. Hopefully there's something in there that is useful, but share with each other. Kind of what's working, what's not, what you've tried, where you're stuck. Because I really believe that that connection is everything, especially in sort of trying times. Okay, where are we here? These are, for those of you who have taken the assessment, these are the 5 areas it looks at. I didn't invent these areas. There are others that are not here, but strategy, what are you focused on? Clarity, do people understand that focus? Do people have the same understanding? Are they clear on what that strategic focus is? Do you do it? Do you execute it? Do you follow through? How well do you follow through when it comes to actually implementing that strategy? Trust. My favorite definition of trust, I think we talk a lot about trust as like a big, vague word, and I love the definition from a book called The Thin Book of Trust, and it is thin, so it had me at thin. But the author Charles Feltman kind of defines trust in a way I think is really helpful. It's the showing of care, reliability, competence, and sincerity. So how present are those elements on your team? And then innovation, which is another sort of very buzzy word, but I think of that as space, breathing room, chance for new connections, new ideas, a spark of inspiration. Do you create kind of space for that? Okay, that's sort of a teaser. I'm gonna, with some help. Oh, turn that off. My iPad is ringing. I didn't even know it could do that. With some help from Desmond, I'd love to do two quick poll questions. Of those areas, which if you had to pick one, which one is a strength for your team? I don't know how this looks on the back end, Desmond A. Can you see when there's like a critical mass of results?
Yes, we are at 22 right now. I know we probably have a few folks who can't get to it, but I'll give everyone another minute or so, and then we'll close this one and move on to the next.
Okay. You can probably guess the next one is around area for growth. So you can think about that for the few seconds here.
All right, and do we want to share the results for the
Yep.
first one?
Yeah, please. A strength. Yeah. These results really jive with what I've seen in the people who have done the assessment in terms of a spike around trust, which I think is huge. It's so foundational. So if that's something that feels like a strength, I think that is one that really powers the rest. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. But it sounds like about half or exactly half of you find that as a strength. Okay, let's do the next one. What's if you had to pick one that you really wish you could move the needle on?
All right, we're going to take about 5 more seconds, then close this one.
Oh, these are really, really closely clustered, huh? That's interesting. Okay. Close that. I mean, before we kind of move on, I'll just pause for a second. What do you make of that? Anything surprising in any of that for y'all?
Can we see the results one more time? So,
Gosh, I hope so. You should have taken a
sorry,
screenshot.
Yes, for both questions or just the last one?
just the last one at my monitor went down real quick and I just didn't see it. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Thanks for asking.
Well, she brings that up. I'll say I was struggling between clarity and execution. So execution was my answer. Clarity was like the weakest for all of us before, but I really think I'm clear. I just think
I know.
I'm pretty sure I'm clear, and I don't think we teach like what's the word I want, like project execution or project management correctly, as far as like kind of working backwards and making sure you do all the steps, and then you get to a position and people think they know it all at some point. I'm not trying to talk bad, but like they've done it, they've been there, so they don't want to relearn it anyway.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Every single one of us struggles with clarity. We're like, but I said it in this way, and I wrote it down, and we talked about it 10 times. It's just like the humanness of communication. It is so hard. So you're in good company.
My team often talks about how we are, New York, South Carolina. We all speak American, but it's like, or English, but it's from, it just doesn't translate all the time. And we discredit that we have different peers that way.
I'm just curious what that means.
Hey, it sounds like somebody's having a chat. If you wouldn't mind muting, you might not be able to see. All right.
I had a question.
Yeah.
I put execution as my response, but it's not really execution, it's results. So it's like, I think knowing what we need to do and doing it, high effort, low yield. So I don't know where that really falls in. I answered execution, but I really think that we are really trying, like let's say, for example, program registrations. Like we know that we need to be heavy on recruitment. I'm with Girls on the Run, and getting our numbers up, getting teams signed up. We're doing all the things, but we may be working really hard and not necessarily seeing the results of the work that we're doing.
Yes, thank you for sharing that, Marie. I am a girl on the run. I love what y'all do. And running is so therapeutic for me. Side note. Yes, I love what you're sharing. And I think these aren't neat categories, right? The root causes might fall in a couple different buckets. One thing that spikes for me there is innovation. And by that, I mean just like thinking differently. So how do you study your results? How do you make space for understanding like root causes of why you're putting in a lot of effort and not getting the yield? And do you make space to like, how do you look at that and iterate and run experiments on it? So I thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I think innovation is kind of an interesting one. I think that we get very conditioned to do tried and true strategies. And because we're afraid to fail, because there's a lot on the line and you don't want to fail. And so that sometimes inhibits risk taking, but then if that's the case, then we don't ever really contemplate new ideas and stretch ourselves and try a new strategy that may deliver better results, better execution. So anyway, that's why I put innovation, because I think that one is a human tendency to kind of stick with what we know and not push ourselves out of our comfort zone.
Yeah. Thanks.
Karen, to your point of innovation, this may open up a can of worms, or maybe this is for another conversation, but
yeah,
I'm wondering I feel a lot of the innovation stopping when there's not financial support for nonprofits, where grantors are saying, well, we only want a program that's successful, that you've already tried, that's tested, that is tried and true. So I feel like we're sort of forced into that box. So
yes, I agree. I think in the for-profit world, there's, I was classically trained in marketing, that you always have a budget that is a miscellaneous budget to try one or two new things every year, with the sense being that they may work and be a home run, and then you do more of it and it would be profitable, or you may learn that it doesn't work, but you were set up to do that safely because budget was appropriated for that. Whereas in the nonprofit space, as you said, no one wants to budget for that. Everyone wants tried and true, proven, you're going to get these kinds of results. And so I think that funding does inhibit innovation as well. Totally agree.
Yeah. I read something really powerful just within the last 2 weeks about research and development. And like Karen's describing, like in the for-profit or in other spaces, there's an R&D budget. We're going to like explore these new ideas. We don't know, but we're doing it for the purpose of learning which ones to double down on. And that's often not palatable to funders. So thank you for raising that. Sorry, what's your name? It says Governor School.
I know, I logged in under my whole
That's
company.
okay.
My name's Amanda.
Amanda, thank you. Okay, there's going to be some more discussion time, but thank you for chiming in there. All right, oh, that doesn't look good. Here we go. I'm going to need 5 volunteers. All you have to do is read a quote on a slide. So if you're willing to volunteer, drop your name in the chat. Thanks, Dawn. Thanks, Governor School. 1, 2, 3, need just 2 more. All right, we got it. Thanks, y'all. So for this next part, I'm gonna dig just kind of one layer deeper on each of these drivers by way of a quote and then a prompt for you all in the chat. So who starts? Dawn, would you read this quote on strategy for us? Thank you.
Sure. Strategy is a tricky word. It is suggestive of something powerful and deliberate, and it can be just that when it helps an organization hold steady on a clear purpose. However, it can also be the catchphrase we attach to a multitude of well-intentioned but disjointed plans and initiatives.
Thanks, Dawn. That's from one of my favorite books on strategy. It is kind of education specific, but everything they talk about, all the tools are very broadly applicable. What about y'all? What's the first word or facial expression that comes to mind when you hear the word strategy? Vague. Yeah. Or emoji. Thank you, Erin. Yeah. Hope is not a strategy. Sure. It could be an ingredient. I'll be honest, I often roll my eyes because it's like, well, what do you mean? What is it? What is your strategy? I think can often be a big, vague term that not everybody understands. Okay, who's next? Amanda, clarity.
In a poll of 23,000 employees across a wide range of industries, only 37% said they have a clear understanding of what their organization is trying to achieve and why.
So it's kind of an old stat, but for discussion's purposes, what do you think? You think that 37% of people understand is higher or lower in your org? Nice. Okay. Well, I mean, clarity was one of those that spiked as maybe an area for growth, but I'm seeing a lot of hires. So it's important to note where there's progress, where there's some kind of seeds and beginnings of strengths. All right.
Can I note one thing on clarity that was
Please.
said kind of earlier? I think that people may be able to recite back what the organization's mission is and sort of understand where the organization is going. But I find an awful lot of time that the lack of clarity is around how their job, how their role connects to that purpose. So they get the CEO's purpose, they get the organization's purpose, but they don't understand what's my personal role in fulfilling that mission. That's where I find in organizations I've been in where there's been the lack of clarity. It's not drilling down to them at the personal level.
Yeah. There was a similar question, and I don't remember top of my head what the percentage was. Similar stat looking at that question, that more nuanced point, Karen. Thank you for adding that. Execution. I think this was Kat.
Okay. Execution separates winning organizations from the rest. 44% of orgs lose momentum during redesign efforts, and 33% fail to deliver after implementation.
Thank you. What do y'all think? Like, if you think about where y'all typically get stuck in the transition from the good plan, the clear plan, to actually implementing that plan, what's one thing that slows you down? No project manager. Role clarity. Feeling stretched. The board. Seeing a lot of kind of staffing resources. Yeah. Capacity. Okay. Who's next? Brittany, you've got two quotes. They're short. Trust.
Okay, a 2017 study by Google's Project Aristotle identified psychological safety as the #1 predictor of high-performing teams. Managers dedicate 20 to 40% of their time to handling conflicts.
That one really stood out to me. It's a huge draw. When you think about when a lot of the issues are capacity related, how much time goes toward addressing trust hotspots when they exist. Now this was also an area where half of you said it was a real strength. So we won't linger here too long, but I'm curious if you had to kind of put it on a scale from 1 to 5, how much trust do you feel on your team right now? Okay. Okay. All right. Last one. Innovation. I think Sandy signed up for this one. Thank you, Sandy.
Creativity and wonder need space to breathe. By carving out small moments to let your mind wander, you can sift through information, make novel associations, and reach insights you may not have consciously considered.
What helps y'all? What tends to spark, if you had to think of kind of one action or condition, or what's something that helps spark long drives? Yeah, there's a reason for that. What are you doing on a long drive? A lot of daydreaming, bicycling. There's like cool research on the shower phenomenon. Getting outside. If I had to guess, I would surmise that a lot of these things that these spark your creative ideas are things you feel like you don't have as much time as you'd like to do. And so I would encourage you on this one to think about small things, small pockets. I often have clients who they want to dedicate like a whole day or a multi-days or even long out, like multi-hour blocks to like think time or deep work. And look, if you can do that, great. But don't let the fact that you don't have 2 hours or a full day get in the way of 30 like short pockets. So that I think that's my nudge here on innovation on these things like the walk or exercising or drive, whatever it is. If shrink it. If you don't feel like you have enough time for it, how could you make it smaller and see if a little bit can't go a long way? Okay. I'm going to stop talking. Thank y'all to my quote readers. I'm going to give you a chunk of time here in breakout groups. And so there's more breakout groups set up than we need, but I wanted to have enough so that we could keep groups relatively small. So you're going to get to pick a driver, one of those five, one or two of those 5 areas that you want to have a bit of a discussion with your peers on. And then you're going to explore a tool. And let me see if I can show you here. I'm going to share a Google Doc, and these are the 3 different breakout group areas, and there's a tool for each one that you can kind of click or just scroll. So I'd encourage you to look, if you want to look at all 3, that's great, but maybe start with one that's related to your driver of focus, and then just have a discussion about it. So let's see my questions here. One is, can you imagine using this? Is there anything in here that's useful? Which parts feel useful? What would you add or change? And then even like more importantly, I hope I've emphasized this. What do you have? What do you use? What helps you as you're thinking about strategy or clarity or these different drivers? What have you tried, or what might you recommend to your colleagues? So I hope there can be some peer sharing and peer coaching here, to kind of unearth a lot of the insights and experiences that y'all bring to this work. And then if you will, pick one insight. This is going to be kind of a quick round at the end, but if there's one little nugget, like one kernel or insight that you wouldn't mind identifying to just share when we come back together, so we can kind of cross-pollinate some of the wisdom. Okay. And I'm going to be popping around just to listen and learn. You can talk about what you want. Y'all are adults. I'm not task managing it, but would love to just hear a little bit about what you're discussing. Are there any questions I can answer as we head into breakouts here? You're going to get to choose them. Desmond, I have so many different kind of screens here. Are they visible yet?
Yes.
The options? Okay.
They are visible, and folks can choose which room they want to go to.
Okay. Well, thanks. I know webinars are hard. It's rainy. You're working across people in different contexts. So thanks for indulging me there. And I know this was really just kind of the tip of the iceberg. So would love to connect with anybody who's interested. I do free, no pressure, no pitching, just kind of thought partnership consults with folks after they've done the assessment if they want to dig in a little bit further to their specific results and how do you kind of turn that into a achievable set of next steps and a bit of a roadmap. So if that's of any interest at all, I would love to hear from you and learn a little bit more about your situation and your challenges. There's a link there to schedule one if you'd like. If you haven't yet done the assessment, there's a link, that's that second link there. And then I hope you will reach out. I learn a ton from just informal discussions with leaders like y'all about what you're up against, what you most need, and that really informs how I approach the work. So it's a genuine, sincere invitation. I would really love to hear from you. And then if you could do one more thing for me, just drop in the chat by way of kind of closing headlines. What do you think? What do you feel? What do you need? You can pick one, you can answer all 3. But just as a way to kind of bring your thinking together, would love to hear where you are.